I want to tell you guys a story. My name is Luis Sharp. I played professional football for 13 years with the Arizona Cardinals. You know, I had a lot of worldly successes. I had everything, you know, materially the world had to offer.
Pro Bowl left tackle, pillar in the community, family man, 5 kids, on TV, speaks 2 languages, everything we want in a player, and he's doing crack cocaine.
I met a player from a southern school, and you know, he had some blow, and he asked me if I wanted to try it.
Some people say he's a bad apple to Arizona. Some people say he's a hero.
He is a warrior, and I know that he's been through so much on the battlefields out there.
When we were at a peak, we were at a very high pinnacle. But when we were at our lows, I mean, they were lows that no one would ever want to have to experience.
Yeah, this is it. This is where we played. This is our sideline right here. We were on the 30-yard line. I think there were like 25, 30 seconds left. The 49ers were up by like 5 or 6 points. And Lomax to Roy Green on the post pattern. 10 seconds left on the clock. We won the game 27-25 or 27-26. And that was the year following the 49ers, I think it was 91, Super Bowl championship. So that was kind of like a victory, you know, a Super Bowl victory for us, the fact that we beat the defending Super Bowl champion right here on our home turf after being down like 26-0 at the half. That's one of the more memorable moments that I have here in this stadium. So I was, in fact, the second choice of the St. Louis Cardinals as their #1 choice, number 16 pick in the first round. But I was elated. I was elated because I just never, it was like a dream come true for me to come from Havana, Cuba, not speaking a word of English at 6 years old, to assimilate into a different country, learn a different language, and now finally to be a #1 draft choice, the greatest sport known in this country. That was a huge high for me. It is hard when you come from the inner city and when you come from struggling to all of a sudden having more financially, more money than you ever thought existed in the entire world. There are a lot of hangers-on, people that want to help you invest your money. You have many family members that, you know, have their hands out. So yeah, it's a huge adjustment for a 21, 22-year-old coming from college and coming from the inner city of Detroit to the highest level of NFL football. My first game on the field, I'll never forget, was in Kansas City, Missouri against the Kansas City Chiefs. And my first opponent was a gentleman by the name of Mike Bell. I had it handed to me that game. Mr. Bell gave me a not-so-warm introduction into the NFL. I think he beat me for 3 sacks, and I was pretty down on myself after that game, questioning whether or not I really belong on an NFL field, because this guy Mike Bell, really handed it to me. And so my confidence was shaken after that first game.
It's hard to notice a left tackle. The only time you'll notice tackles in the NFL is when they get a penalty. I mean, any offensive lineman will tell you, we hope nobody notices us in the game. That means we're doing our job. So it wasn't like a quarterback or running back or receiver where you just notice if they stood out.
You know, I think I did a pretty good job of showing them that I wasn't any punk, you know, that maybe I didn't know all the tricks of the trade, and maybe I was a youngster, but you know what, I had a fight in me. and I was going to rise to the occasion when challenged.
Teammates loved him. There were a few veterans himself, Ron Wolf, Levi Sikahema, Tim McDonald, who were kind of the faces of that Cardinals team the first 3 or 4 years here. Teammates respected him because he wasn't afraid to stand up to the organization and say what he thinks was going on wrong or say what he think needed to be changed. He was well respected on the field and in the locker room. I don't remember a single negative thing said about Luis.
Well, I didn't know at the time it would be the last game I played for the Cardinals. It was against the Philadelphia Eagles. It was an October or November game around this time of year. And I think we were running some kind of lead draw play. And one of our offensive linemen jumped off sides. And because of the offsides, the play got kind of tangled, and so the Philadelphia defensive end, William Fuller, shot down the line of scrimmage and hit my knee from behind and kind of crumbled me over, and I tore my ACL, and that was it. I remember being carted off the field, and that was my last game as a Cardinal. I knew it was my 13th season, and I knew that it was a pretty serious knee injury. And, you know, I was just having some doubts and some questions of whether or not I had the wherewithal, you may say, to rehab and, you know, to play at the level that I was accustomed to playing in the NFL. So I kind of knew that, you know, if the injury was as significant as it felt at the time, if it was that serious, that probably would spell the end of my NFL career.
I mean, you have to remember, he had everything. When he came here, you know, he was happily married, great family, already doing TV, so he had a job lined up for him after his playing career. He probably would have been a network announcer somewhere after his career because he was so articulate, because he spoke 2 languages. How popular would he have been here in the Valley? He had everything to gain and so much to lose, and yet still the crack cocaine had taken hold. So while I'm sure the way his career ended didn't help, and that it was obviously a hurtful way for him, I think the addiction at that point had taken him over already. I got a tip, can't tell you from who obviously, but I got a tip that I should call the Glendale police and get a police report. Of the person gave me this address of where they suspected crack cocaine was being trafficked. And I got a hold of the Glendale police report, and sure enough, there was Luis Sharp mentioned in one of the reports. And so I asked Luis, and he denied everything, and I had to write the story, and I did, and that's how it first came out.
I remember that there were drugs available. There were drugs available for players, and certain individuals would use drugs, whether it be before the game or at halftime of the games. Yeah, there were drugs. And not necessarily just street drugs, but whatever it was that you needed to get yourself to a point where you could go out and perform, those were made available, and players would take those to go out and do their duties and perform their responsibilities on the playing field. What my drug of choice was probably anything that altered my mood, whether that was marijuana, whether that was alcohol, whether that was cocaine. Whatever altered my mood would be my drug of choice.
It's probably easy to get those drugs, and let's face it, crack cocaine wasn't that expensive anyway. So Luis could go down to Broadway and get crack cocaine. I don't think money was an object, and I think he fell into it like a lot of athletes use marijuana now. He probably saw it as some recreational drug that he could still play and be effective, and that wasn't the case. I mean, it not only helped destroy his career, but it completely destroyed his personal life and who he was. I mean, that's the greater tragedy here. It's not that Luis' playing career was affected. His entire life was destroyed, and he's still trying to recover from that.
I mean, he was just deranged, you know, like glossy eyes and just very, you know, upset and mad. And I mean, he would just be really fidgety. Sometimes he would like hallucinate, you know, and just be acting like a crazy person. So he never acted out or lashed out against us. I mean, that a lot of that anger was toward my mom. But yeah, I certainly recall several instances where we saw that side of it.
You really start to believe your own hype. You really start to believe that you're invincible, and that you can get away with things that others may not get away with, and you make choices or decisions based on that. You know, you have to learn to stay centered, and you can't believe all the hype. You're not invincible. You know, you're a human being. You bleed red like every other human being. You have emotions, highs and lows like every other. And just because you're a huge success on the athletic field, you know, does not place you above anyone else. It does not mean that you can get away with things that others can't get away with.
That doesn't start in professional football or professional sports. That starts in high school. You know, guys like Luis, you know, they're all-state players in high school, and they're put on a pedestal even then. Then they go to college. Luis went to UCLA, and they're the talk of the campus. Every girl wants them. Every guy wants to be like them, that old saying, and they think they're bulletproof. So by the time they get to the NFL, the NBA, or wherever, they think they can do no wrong and the rules don't apply to them. Now, how that folds into an addiction, I'm not sure. But I'm sure when Luis first started using crack cocaine, there was a thought going through his head, I'm Luis Sharp, nothing's going to happen to me, I can deal with this. Now once the addiction takes hold, I think all that goes out the window and you just need that next hit. But sure, I think to start, I'm a professional athlete, nothing's going to go wrong for me. There are so many times you read, and I stopped covering the Cardinals after '92 on a beat basis, but there were so many times you'd watch TV or pick up the paper and there'd be another headline, Luis Sharp arrested, Luis Sharp shot, Luis Sharp found in an alley in Central Phoenix, you know, beaten up, Luis Sharp has, you know, in a hotel room with a strange woman. I mean, it was just one lurid headline after another that kind of detailed how his life was going down the drain.
Well, I don't know, because when he got shot twice, I think at that time I realized, like, obviously he's not in the best of situations, like if he's in the face of danger like that. And, you know, one time he was only a centimeter away from losing his life. So I think those times really showed me that, you know, I don't know exactly what lifestyle he's leading, but I know it's not a good one. Probably doesn't make much sense to people who haven't really dealt with these different adversities in life, but it was almost like when he was incarcerated, like I knew he was okay, and I knew that I would talk to him and he would be coherent and we'd be able to really connect about what was going on in life. When he was just out in the world, you never knew what that next phone call was going to really, you know, consist of. So,
well, anytime you get involved with drugs, you know, anytime you put in alcohol or any substance, mind-altering substance into your body that changes how you think, obviously it's not only going to affect you negatively, but it's going to affect the people that you love in a negative way. So obviously, you know, we know what the end result was with me. Absolutely.
In terms of destroying his entire career, who he was as a person, losing his family, losing his reputation for an extended period of time, it's hard for me to think of anybody. I mean, we're not talking somebody who was found with crack cocaine, got clean a year later, has played and kept his wife and kids. We're talking about somebody who completely destroyed every aspect of his life. I can't think of another athlete who did that.
More tragedy has struck Luis Sharp and his family after police discovered the body of 23-year-old Leah Sharp.
I think it was after she moved to Michigan, after she graduated high school, she just kind of, you know, really took a turn to the left at that point.
I'm trying to remember the exact details of her death, but I do know, talking to Kathy, Luis's ex-wife on a few occasions, she said that Leah tried to replace Luis with older men in relationships, and some of those men didn't treat her well, and it kind of led her down the wrong path.
At that point, and because things were still like on the edge, like with my dad, I'm like, who knows what this is gonna be. My mom called, and then my grandma started calling me, and I'm like, oh Lord, like something really must be wrong. So I listened to the message that my grandma left. My grandma, she truly means no harm, but she gets extremely nervous, and she actually left the message on my voicemail that my sister had been found dead. And like, I mean, I just remember going numb at that point, and I guess I was screaming so loud, I kind of looked over, and all of a sudden the entire office building of about 30 people were like in the office, because I think they thought something happened, you know, within the office. And, you know, they were like, what's wrong? What happened? And I couldn't even bring myself to say what it was. I was just like, you know, I need to leave. And they walked me out to my car, and I called my best friend at the time, and I couldn't, again, like bring myself to say what had just happened. She passed away 7 years ago, which is just incredible that it's been that long. But, you know, he showed up at her funeral, and he was just like completely out of it. I mean, he was high, you know, and he really relapsed deeply after her death. And so, I mean, that whole time, you know, you're dealing with the tremendous loss of a sibling and all of the grief that comes along with it. I mean, she was only 23 years old. And then it's like my dad and his issues on top of that. I mean, it was just a very, very dark time, and a time that I honestly never thought that I'd be able to fully like recapacitate from, because I'm just like, I mean, life is over, you know? And I know a lot of people, you know, in this community that were there during this time, I think they had really just seen like, wow, you guys have truly hit rock bottom. Like, things are just way out of your control. So yeah, it was a really tough time, and it definitely still stings. But again, like that whole concept of forgiveness and just having to learn to like move forward and, you know, not like harp on the past too much, because all it does is really just slow you down.
I had my struggles, and I was not the man that I should have been for my wife and my children at the time. I spent many nights out doing things in the streets that, if I had the knowledge and the wisdom then that I have now, I would not have done. But you know, that's life, and I paid some tremendous consequences and had some tremendous losses because of my negative choices. She
was with people who didn't really value life, so for them it was nothing to just take hers, because they didn't really value life. And, you know, to them, she wasn't an extremely loved and celebrated sister, daughter, friend. She was just another girl, you know? So the motive has not been revealed, but the actual person who killed her is in prison. And does that give me any type of closure? No. I mean, because that sentence, whether it would be 5 years, 10 years, or life, doesn't bring that person back.
Going to visit their football team after practice, and I'm going to share just a little testimony, a word of encouragement with the young men, and you know, share some of my personal football artifacts with them in the hopes of maybe helping guide them in the right direction in life. My name is Luis Sharp. I'm here to tell you, you don't want to go where it is that I've been, losing your freedom, being apart from your family, okay? I had a lot of successes. I became an all-pro. I was a team captain. I was making lots of money. I had all kinds of adulation, fans in the community. But you know what happened, fellas? I didn't stay centered. I didn't know who I was. And now when I started getting all of these things, because I didn't stay centered, I didn't stay connected with my family and friends, where it is that I came from, guess what? I started believing that I was invincible. I started believing that I was something special. And I started getting involved with people and getting involved in activities. Didn't grow up like that. And the resulting consequences. You guys have had some struggles. You've had some injuries. Maybe the season hasn't gone quite like people anticipated it to go. Fellas, I know what that's like. You know, when I was out there on that football field, If anybody said anything to any of my compadres on my team, that's my brother, man. Don't mess with him. I'm taking up for him. You know, we're in this thing together. We're in this thing together. I love this man, and I will stick my neck out wherever need be to protect my teammate, particularly my quarterback. I was an offensive lineman, okay? You know, and my quarterback was like my family back there. It's like protecting my family from an invader when the pass rusher was trying to get to my quarterback. That's kind of how I saw it in my mind. I'm not letting you get to my family back there. You know, you guys have to encourage one another. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean by encourage one another? Uplift one another? You know? Does that make sense? You know, I just wanted to share with you that you guys have a wonderful opportunity. You have a wonderful school here, wonderful coaching staff. I'm sure you have parents that love and support you. And I would just encourage you, men, to do everything possible to become responsible, productive, and law-abiding assets of your community is what it's all about. Good family men, good husbands, good fathers, and assets in the community. And stay away from the drugs. Stay away from, you know, all of the negatives that are such associated with the world that we live in today. Get into your books, get into your studies, get into your athleticism, your athletics. Listen to your coaches and your teachers, and make something of yourselves, gentlemen. I'm at ICM Ministries, and this is a ministry in the community that helps those in need with their daily sustenance, food, clothing, furniture. I've been volunteering here for 4 or 5 months now, and I love coming here, serving, giving to those in need in the community.
Oh, good, I get the phone too, yay.
There you go, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Here, yeah, that's it. You're welcome.
I didn't really know who Louis Sharp was in the beginning when I first started ICM. I started out here doing community service, and just one day I just noticed this big black guy with these big arms. I'm like, man, he looked like he could have been like a basketball player, a football player. So one day I walked up to him and asked him, hey man, why you didn't play sports? He's like, I did. And so one of the coworkers came up to me and said, yeah, that's Louis Sharp. I'm like, who the hell is Louis Sharp? I didn't know.
They say, you look familiar. And I don't tell them. You know, I let them figure it out. And eventually, yeah, didn't you play for the Cardinals? And then when they say Cardinals, yeah, I can tell them my name.
He's been a blessing to us here. And likewise, he talks to the people here that come in with problems, you know, just to keep them strong and keep going forward and keeps them positive. So that's what he does now. So he's still a celebrity, you know.
We got a family of 8, and we're going to fill the food box as best we can. We don't have a lot today, but these are dry goods, your beans, your cereals, peanut butter, things like that. Let's see what we have in here for meats. Some stuffed pork chops, something for family of 8 and their nourishment. That'll be good. Some ham and fixed sandwiches. You know, I love it from the standpoint that it just gives me an opportunity to give back to a community that I took so much from through my poor decision making and bad choices.
There are times when he'll tell me little situations about my friends, people that come through line in here. And he just nods his head and says, you know, I hope she does better. But we know when people are going through problems, you know? So he's got a good heart for everybody because he knows and he does care about them. And we know what they're facing, you know? It's not good to judge people. People are going to go through things and we don't know why. The thing is to help those people, you know?
A guy that size, you know, and been through so much, you know, to still be standing how he's standing, it's amazing, it's a blessing. I would have really lost it if I was up here and then I dropped down all the way there, and then, you know, some way, somehow I picked myself back up. I don't think I could have did it. It just wouldn't have been me. For somebody that strong, you know, I applaud Lewis for, you know, doing what he has to do to stay on his feet.
I think him just being right here right now is an encouragement to a lot of people because they know what he went through. So for them to see him doing good, looking good again, I think that itself just, no words could say what a face is, a smile, and, you know, just the presence of somebody that was going through horrible times and how good he's doing now.
My life is good today. My life is good today because I'm free physically from incarceration. I'm free on the inside because of my faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I believe that I have a testimony to share with many in the world and in our community and help uplift those that maybe find themselves where it is that I come from.
He has a very powerful story to tell, and he can help a lot of people if he's able to tell that story. I mean, he can talk to kids, he can talk to NFL players, he can talk to pro athletes in other sports. I mean, sometimes athletes especially, they need to hear from another athlete to see how their life can be destroyed. Think of the message he could give to colleges and high school speaking. I mean, it's been a terrible, terrible 20+ years for him, but think of the good he can do now. I just hope he stays clean and does that.
It's just satisfying, gratifying to be able to be clean and sober today and to be a productive, responsible, and law-abiding member of the community again.